the wall, you know, and you feel a little bit like that. You feel a bit of a jerk, and you feel like you're going out, you know. How can you be so clued up and everybody's so clueless? And similar situation to what we're going through now, actually 30 years ago. It's a big economic downturn, big depression, big recession. I didn't envy you. If I could swap places with you today, like, hand on heart, I honestly didn't know if I would. I didn't know if I would. It would be kind of with the knowledge, right? You know, everybody says that. If I was fucking in there and I only knew what I knew today, and I was like, yeah, that's great. That's great. That's a groundbreaking idea. That's a shattering eureka moment. That, like, nobody's ever thought of that. Like, even Mike Tyson thought of that one. Like, believe it or not, if I can find it, I may not have heard of this one before. It's one of my favourites. Pretty poignant, coming from Tyson. He was one of the biggest loons on the planet. Does anybody know who Mike Tyson is? I presume you know who Mike Tyson is.
Yeah,
Wonderful. That's what Tyson said. You rolled too soon, and you're smart too late. Yeah? Mike Tyson, 2001. Probably never a truer word said, you know what I mean? And pretty prophetic now when you look at his age now, you know, he's 44-year-old, been there, done it, and got the t-shirt and everything. But he said that a few years ago, you know, he was still fighting. So, came out of zooming back to the Revolutionary Party and give that up as a bad job, and just, it's like my dad used to say, he says, you want to pack all that in, right? He organised many strikes in the shipyard, you know, because everything the working person have got. I was speaking to two guys outside there earlier, prior to coming into this room, about 45 minutes ago. These two guys are on a pay freeze. They're on a pay freeze. The pay's been frozen because they're part of the public sector workers, along with firemen, dinner ladies, lollipop ladies, librarians. The pay freeze for 2 years, public sector workers. So in essence, that's a pay cut. I'll explain. VATs went up, electricity gases went up, yeah, clothes went up, Hershey bars, cans of Coke, diesel, everything's went up, rents, mortgages, everything's went up. It's now come down to the best of my knowledge. So in essence, it's a pay cut. Your 100 quid today will buy you about 90 quid's worth of kit in a year's time. That's whether you're going to Asda or you're out on the piss down the quayside. That's a fact. Yeah? So it's a pay cut. But my father said, give it all up. He says, give all that up, dig a hole in the system and live in it. He says, otherwise you'll die of a broken heart and a broken brain, probably the way the police are hitting you with the head with truncheons and stuff. So I did. I came out of the garages because it's a mucky industry, it's a dirty industry. Panel beating and scrape painting. Went to work in Germany, went to work in Holland, Denmark, because it was about 3 or 4 times as much money in a lower work, and you know, less hours a week to work, and you were earning 3 times as much money, you know. So that was good. And then I went into sales. I decided to go into sales, and I've worked in most sales industries, including private medical care, financial services, real estate, selling timeshare in Tenerife. Some of them I forgot, you know, some of the advertising, worked for some big insurance companies, Manufacturers Life, Cornhill, Equity and Law, worked for a few big garages. So did all that, all the time, all the way through. I've always exercised and always trained, played rugby at school, because I wasn't good enough for the footy team, or the PE teacher didn't like us or whatever, but looking back in retrospect, probably wasn't good enough to get the footy team. So I played rugby, school team, 12, 13s and 14s and 14s and stuff. Played five-a-side afterwards. Started boxing late. Didn't start boxing until I was 20. Started boxing because I was getting bullied at school. Is any of you experienced that at school? Probably doesn't happen so much in this environment, I suppose. I don't know, you know. I'm not sure, you know. Because I never would. Anybody get bullied at school?
Aye.
You get bullied? What was it, just arseholes picking on you? Yeah. What, your clothes or?
Because I was always been a big lad.
Big lad. Right. Ginger, big, little, black, white, glasses, smart, blonde, you know. You know, you haven't got your Gucci feel, Gucci jeans on or whatever, it doesn't matter, you know. The bullies will always find something to pick on you for, you know. It didn't help. It didn't help at school with me, like, because my dad shot the next door neighbour, and that sounds strange, but like, true. That's another lecture, that way. I shot the guy next door when I was just going to comprehensive school, and He deserved it, much like he deserved it. But in 1969 you couldn't go and shoot people, well you can't go and shoot people with shotguns now, but it was less prevalent then. It was only the Craze I think had done it before that, I think. And Mad Frankie Fraser, I think they put that. But anyway, so he went to Durham jail, not too far away at Old Alfred, just down the road there, the big house. I've got some mates in there at the moment, not very good. And also at Franklin's, just up the other one here. It's all about decisions and choices you make in life. But I was getting bullied at school, and I always wanted to start boxing, basically just to defend myself, because your dad used to say, well, your dad has said, why did you hit them back? Well, that's what he always said, didn't he? Why did you hit them back? Class, huh? Tell me for your dad saying that. I should have been about twice the size of you at the time. And obviously, and I didn't have his shotgun, you know, that would have been tough off him. So that was it. And so getting bullied, so it was always my intention to learn to defend myself, and I was brought up with boxing even though my dad wasn't a big boxing fan. He used to keep us off school. The only thing he kept us off school for was to watch this guy here. Does anybody know who this guy is? Does anybody know who this guy is, the white guy? George Foreman. The white guy. He's British, yeah, he's British.
Is that the bloke who's just died?
That's the one.
Big Henry.
Henry Cooper. He's national treasure, Henry. Sir, I was reminded actually, sir, I've actually met Henry a few times, you know. And he reminded us of his title last time. Henry couldn't sign up for us, could he? You know, last thing. Sir, can you sign this? Yeah, my dad used to keep us off school to watch Muhammad Ali, Cassius Clay, as he was known then, you know, to give him his slave name, you know, which was imposed on him by the white guys in Alabama, Tennessee, yeah, Kentucky and Louisville, where he was from. Muhammad Ali, there'll never be another boxer like him, there'll probably never be another person like him, but my dad used to keep us off school. The only thing he'd keep us off school for was to watch him, because prior to pay-per-view and Rupert Murdoch's Sky, you could watch the fight beamed over by satellite, which was a pretty new innovation in the 60s, like. And they were beamed over in early hours of the morning. He used to keep us off school to watch them at 4 or 5 in the morning, and obviously I was not going to go to school, so he'd write us a note I had to go in at dinner time. So that was my first introduction to boxing, and grew up watching him. And he was just unique, you know, he's just a special type of boxer, special type of person, you know. Even for his fights outside of the ring, never mind inside the ring, for civil rights, for to end discrimination, you know, colour bar, his stance against the Vietnamese war. He wouldn't go to war, you know. A war of choice by America to go and invade another country like the British government doing now, you know, in many areas around the globe, in the name of freedom for them. So he used to keep us off school to watch him. And he didn't inspire us to box, actually, Ali, because he was pretty unique. It's like years saying, oh, I want to dance like Michael Jackson or something, you know. There's, you know, that's how remote it was, you know. You couldn't really copy his style. Henry Cooper inspired us to a large degree because I could copy what he did, you know, the basic moves of what he did. So I started boxing when I was 19 at Lambton Street at Sunderland. There's a cinema there now. Most of you have been there. The Empire Cinema's on the corner. That's where my old gym was, you know. And like most things in Sunderland, if it's over 100 years old, we knock it down, you know, because it's got a bit of history and it looks architecturally and culturally emancipated. And we'd much rather have a grey concrete block like this building than something with any ornate features on it, you know. So suffice to say, there's not many ornate buildings left in Sunderland. I'm not saying Lambton Street was one of them, but it was pretty historic gym and had a long history of success with football and boxing and table tennis, basketball and netball and stuff like that. So I started boxing, had 20 amateur fights, I won 16 in the lost form. I went to work in Germany in 1984, painting cars, and I had 4 fights over there, won them as well. I wasn't a decent boxer, just an average amateur boxer. One of the best things I learned, one of the best things I ever did, boxing, in my opinion. Next to reading and writing, boxing, just my opinion, is probably the best thing you can do, you know. It teaches you so much about life and about life experiences, you know, about what one of the guys alluded to earlier on. So I've always stayed healthy and fit, trained all the way through, right the way through all the rave days and all the wild days and running, jumping, climbing and whatever. My solicitor, the one I spoke about earlier on, approached us about 18 years ago to teach him how to, the one who said most people are full of shit. He it was strange, he just rang us up out the blue one day, he says, can you teach us out the box? And he was about 36 or something at the time, 35. And why do you want to, he says, oh, just to keep fit. So in the process of teaching him that, he said, why don't you do this? I said, what Rebecca said earlier on, this is how I got into it. Might be a long way going around it, but I was going to talk about my past anyway. Why didn't you be a personal trainer? And you know, we've all got this visualization of this perception of personal trainer, you know, who could train George Clooney, Oprah Winfrey, Brad Pitt, whoever, you know what I mean? You're not a personal trainer. Again, the ideology and the system that we're brought up in, you know, we're all brought up in this system, in my opinion, I don't know which way you say it, is to know your place, you know. Rebecca, you know, just lower it down a bit, you know, just lower the bar a bit. How about the shoe shop at the back of Asda? How about that? That would suit you better. Some nice St. Louis blues in the back of Asda. That's, you know, know your place. Did it, and Prince Philip, I think, said it a while ago. Was it him or he's print of his son, Charles? I said, oh, that he did. It was Charles. It was Charles about a year ago. People like yourselves, working class kids like yourself, whether you're doing the hairdressing course down the street, down the road, down the next floor, or you're doing this or whatever, you know, you should know your place, you know. Plumbers, bricklayers, candle, you know, bakers, quakers, candlestick makers, and whatever, you know, electricians and panel beaters and whatever. You know, I don't know where he thinks the personal trainers are coming from, or the lab technicians are coming from, or the surveyors are coming from, or the research and development guys who design the seats on the aeroplanes, or the people who, you know, write the mainframe programs for some of this stuff, and whatever. I mean, well, I don't know where, that's how deluded and detached they are from reality. Because they're doing it one for naught, they're one for nothing, you know, nothing. 1% of them. One percent of them own 99% of the wealth. 99%, us included, in the room, and probably everybody within a 2-mile radius of here. Created. 1% or 99% of the wealth, and the other 99% of us created, generate the electricity, purify the water, milk the cows, bake the bread, yeah? Teach the pupils or the students, and that's the deal. That's the deal that we live on at the moment. So you're fairly constricted and you're fairly restricted in your opportunities, and that's why, on a personal basis, probably there's like a bat and ball thing going on in my head. There's lots of us would want to be sitting where you are, and there's lots of us not wanting to be, you know what I mean, for various reasons, because of the economy, because of the system that we live under. There's only so, you can only go so far. Oh, we all know there's a Floyd Mayweather, you know, the black kid from the Bronx who's made it, you know, and he's there, you know, he's got the Maybach and he's driving down Ocean Boulevard chucking $100 bills out the back like a wanker, you know, and, you know, Jay-Z, yeah, there's always going to be an example of that. You know, whether you're white, black, blue, pink, yellow, whatever, there's always going to be an example. But for most of us, it's nose to the grindstone, and there's little opportunities. Yeah, little opportunities. So when my solicitor said to me, you want to be straight away that bourgeois idealism and that system that you're bombarded with every day, you know, shoe shop, electrician, salesman. Yeah. Break the mold, break out of the comfort zone. I says, Michael, personal trainer, says, and the very thing he said to me, he says, listen, you haven't got to be like some handsome guy like Brad Pitt to like train people and stuff. As long as you know your job. He says, I want a person. I mean, he's got the disposable income to sort of justify it. You know, I mean, I don't know what he earns, but I know he earns quite a bit. He's got a massive farm up at Fenrother, past Morpeth and stuff. And but he planted the seed. He planted the seed, you know. Basically, you can be whatever you want to be. You've just got to want it enough. And that might, you know, it's obviously sending some of them to sleep here. But you can be whatever you want to be, as long as you want it enough. Does anybody actually truly believe that? Does anybody really believe that?
Yes.
Yeah? Do you? But what you say, what do you want to do?
No.
And this guy here with the blue T-shirt on?
Cheers, PE teacher.
PE teacher?
Yeah, and a skating instructor.
That's great. And why not? Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to teach the kids to ski on the piste and in the Alps or wherever, on Glencoe or Glenshee or wherever, Aspen or wherever. Somebody's got to do it. Somebody's got to train people. Somebody's got to be a PE teacher. Yous all are PE teachers at school, so why not? You've just got to you've just got to want to, you know, you've just got to want to be able to do it enough. You've got to be inspired enough to do it. When he planted the seed, I went home and deliberated a lot and thought about it a lot, you know, and I thought, like, number one is what you said, where am I going to get the clients from? You know, putting an advert in the Echo, personal trainer, £20 an hour, that's what I was charging at the time, and people said, £20 an hour? You know, that's £20 an hour? I said, well, how much when you get the plumber out to fix your wiggle pin and your wiggle valve and the combi boiler, how much does he charge you? Oh, about 100 quid plus the bits. So you think more of your combi boiler than you do your body then, you know? Labourers are not even on 20, labourers are on more than 20 quid an hour. I'm going back 14 years. My fees haven't went up that much, like. You're still struggling to get 25 quid out of them nowadays. So when I first started, I went back to Michael and he pushed us. He was the inspiration that drove, you know, same way I might be today if I'm not, well, you know, I'm not going away thinking I'm a failure now, even if you take one aspect away from what I say or what you hear today. Any one aspect, you know, that or whatever. It might inspire you to do something. You've got to motivate yourself though, you've got to want to do it enough. You should go for it, you know, you should go for it. You know, you should. Why not? Why not? You can do anything you want if you really, really want to do it. The only thing that will restrict you is usually funding, opportunities, a support networking system. I'm sure these guys will be there on the end of the phone if you want any advice and if they can help. If they can't, obviously, they can't. There's only so much people can do. But you've got to want to do it yourself. You've got to want to do it yourself. So after speaking to Michael again, I says, how would I start? He says, well, you've taught me to throw a punch and move and I've never done any of that before. Why don't you, you know, where will I start with clients, you know? Another thing was, even at the age I was at, I didn't have the confidence to do it. I'd have boxed in front of 350, 400 people with cigars in their mouths and triple X brandies and stuff and whatever. And it's a lot more intimidating than standing in front of you today talking or showing somebody, you know, soft knees, neutral spine, head in line and just keep your posture right in it. You know, it's simple. You know, it's not like getting in and he looks a bit tough, this bastard. You know, you're like sort of looking, well, you've got to get in there, you know, you've got to get in there, you've got to do it. It's, anybody heard of fight or flight? Fight or flight? Yeah? Fight, you just run towards it and you might get knocked. You might get knocked, that's the deal. Flight might be a good idea to run away. You'd have done it in the matches. Run away from the crowd, scousers chasing you down the big mountain. Yeah? Fight or flight. There's no difference between those.